The live stream. Going to YouTube here. And we won't really start until it gets going. But yeah, the search bar is going. Done. Redirected to YouTube. And we are now officially live 1 minute early on Tech Talk Tuesday. So um, let's see. We've got one viewer. This is great.
Hi, Mom.
Yep, that's my mom.
Oh, this is great. Okay, well, I'm gonna do the postings and
All right.
God, well, maybe just right at the top of the hour. I'll turn it, you take it from there, but I'll keep my camera on too while we're going. But Scott, the floor is officially yours.
All right. Welcome everybody to the first official Tech Talk Tuesday. This is brought to you by the International Association of Fire Chiefs and Fire Rescue One. So we want to thank them for help hosting the Tech Talk Tuesdays. Basically, from here on out, we'll meet the first and third Tuesday at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. I guess we're actually Central Daylight Time right now. But we're just going to talk about innovation and neat things going on in the fire service with technology and emerging technology. And we've got different guests on every day. Your host will probably rotate. You'll have myself, Scott Roseberry, Kevin Sofin, Will Brocious, Corey Claiborne will be on here sometimes, and Jeff Doolin, and sometimes we'll be graced with Chief Dan Muncie every once in a while. But my name's Scott Roseberry. I'm Battalion Chief in Garland, Texas. We're a suburb of Dallas, Texas, and I've been in fire service about 25 years. I'm the chair of the International Association of Fire Chiefs Technology Council, and it's my pleasure to help bring the technology to the fire service and work with creating a future-ready fire service. With that, I'll turn it over to Will and let Will introduce himself.
Yeah, so Will Brocious, newly hired deputy chief at Charlottesville Fire Department in Virginia. A little over 20 years in the fire service, previously out of South Carolina, most recently Columbia Fire, secretary of the International Fire Chiefs Association Technology Council, and just looking for better ways to serve. And I'm a big fan of technology and servant leadership, so looking forward to marrying those two things together and moving the fire service forward.
And Kevin.
Hello, everyone. Kevin Sofin. I've had the fortune of working with the IAFC now going on my third year. I've been helping plan the Technology Summit International show the last 2 years and really leaning into the idea of an unconference and making it as a two-way dialogue and interactive as possible. Last year had an awesome time down in Oklahoma, which Chief Kelley and Baker will lean into, and really excited about 2025 in Dallas. But yeah, my career, I've had the fortune of working within public safety on the industry side for about 12 years, working with WS Darling Company, commercializing drones, robots, wearables, and supporting other various startups and groups like Ascent Integrated Tech that does biometric alerting and location tracking for incident commanders. And now really enjoying being involved in the .org side, working with IFC, helping continue to evangelize all things technology. And lastly, I have the Smart Firefighting podcast and enjoy just putting microphones and cameras in front of people's faces. And to my knowledge, this is one of the first live shows. This is the first show. We've got 4 people now. We are really trending upward. This is awesome. But this is one of the first shows that I know that's going to be live, consistent, bringing in awesome thought leaders and just friends of the industry to talk about all things technology adoption, change management, problems, solutions, ideas, best practices. So I'm kind of acting as the sous chef here, helping make sure the tech works. Novel concept of Zoom live broadcasting to YouTube. It worked. Wonderful. And just excited to be here. And so please, if you've got questions, fire them up in the YouTube chat. Or also, you can send me an email at ksofen@iafc.org and I can get the question or any answers sent to you. And I see we have Jeff Doolin who just arrived. Jeff, if you want to, we're just doing quick introductions and then we're gonna pass it to our guests, Chief Kelley and Baker. Jeff, if you're available to do a quick 30-second intro, I'm voluntolding you right now.
There he is. Hey,
Hey,
it
good
looks like
afternoon.
Jeff's home.
Hey, yeah, I'm home this week. Hey, yeah. So, everybody, Chief Kelley, Chief Baker, thank you so much for helping us on this initial broadcast of Tech Talk Tuesday. Very excited to have y'all and can't wait to hear what y'all talk about today for us.
Kevin kind of left off. He wears two other hats in case people don't know. One is he actually works with an organization that helps deliver water to third world countries, and he'll every once in a while he goes overseas and helps with that. And I just found out too, he's a self-subscribed neighborhood cleanup, pooper scooper.
I'm trying to become the poop influencer of Chicago. I had a video that went viral on Reddit and Facebook just because it blows my mind that people think that they can have a dog and just let it poop in the city and someone else will clean it up. And I'm a believer in that your mom isn't there to pick up after you. And my mom always taught me you should leave any place that you go to cleaner than you found it. So that's my poop plea. Low tech.
Will is actually in Orlando at the Center for Public Safety Excellence Conference right now. Will, is there anything interesting going on down there this week?
Yeah, just a lot of collaboration, meeting people, everybody working together, sharing ideas. We just did the NARIS update. So Tom Jenkins, as usual, lots of information, crushed it. It's moving forward. The RMS companies are receiving their NARIS badges. I think he said we're up to 9 so far. So just a good time to be in the fire service.
And you've been using Naris in your department for a while, haven't you? Or your previous department was?
Yeah, Columbia was one of the first 50, and then when I went to Charlottesville, we were able to carry that over as well. So far so good.
Do you like it?
Yeah, it's new technology, right? We'll talk
Yeah.
about that as we move on, right? New
Yeah.
technology is new technology.
Okay. All right. Well, let's have Chief Baker and Chief Kelley introduce themselves. They're here. We just like Kevin Sova was saying, we were just in Oklahoma City for TSI in December, and we had the pleasure of really collaborating with Chief Baker and Chief Kelley, and we wanted to bring them on because they're doing some really innovative and exciting things in their departments with technology, and so with EMS and fire operations. So, Chief Baker, if you want to introduce yourself, and then Chief Kelley.
Sure. My name is Michael Baker. I'm the fire chief in the city of Tulsa, Oklahoma. So we're in the northeast portion of Oklahoma, and I think you guys are all running a risk of letting us, start this off in the first one because yes, we do have technology here. No, we don't ride horses west unless you're going to Oklahoma City, and they still do. And then but we are using some technology. So I'm wonderfully blessed to be a fire chief of 730 firefighters at across the city of 400,000. And so I've been on the department. This is my 30th year on the department. This is my 5th year as fire chief, and it is our 125th year anniversary as a department. So a lot of things going on here, just as a kind of history and tradition and cultural impact across the job. So just excited to be here. Love talking about technology. I think my department kind of looks at me occasionally and goes, what's this thing that we're having to put batteries in or run a cable to? It's great to be here and talk about that.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's awesome to be here. I'm Richard Kelley. I'm the fire chief in Oklahoma City, the western part of Oklahoma, closer to the central. As Chief Baker talked about, it is a little different when you come from Tulsa, Oklahoma City. They ride horses. Down here, we use wagons. So we've moved up to, so we are a little bit more on the technology side. But all kidding aside, we do have a great relationship. But it really is an honor to jump on here with Chief Baker. We bounce things back and forth between each other. We challenge each other. We actually sat on the state chiefs board together. But what we've learned from each other really allows us to grow and improve our services and to really push that envelope. And it's easy for my staff to, when I say, hey, Tulsa's looking at doing this, for them to jump on board, and I know vice versa. But I really believe iron sharpens iron, and I really am fortunate to have Chief Baker here, working together in this. We are home to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Super excited. Hopefully, I wish I could be saying that the NBA champions, but we'll wait and see. That gets a little bit early. But super proud that we have over 1,000 firefighters, 20th largest city in the U.S. It's probably, if you've never been here, it's a little different than what people would expect. But just got this week made aware that we're going to host part of the LA 28 Olympics. So that's going to be a huge deal. There's going to be 2 or 3 events actually hosted in Oklahoma. So that was codified this week. Super excited for that. But really, thank you for allowing us to be here in this space. You know, we love to learn. We're lifelong learners. I think that's what the fire service is all about. We take every opportunity to learn what's going on in the fire department, fire service, best practices, or just industry. I think we don't need to just stay within our walls of the fire service. We look at find best options, best opportunities to bring into the fire service or develop new opportunities to grow. So look forward to the conversation today. And as we throw punches back and forth between Chief Baker and I, just know we love each other at the end of the day.
You know, and so that kind of learning from each other, and that was kind of what sparked this, and really what sparked what the innovation award that we did at TSI was. This was the first year we did that, and we had so many people just talk about like how great that was, and so the innovation award, for those of you that weren't there and don't know about it, we wanted to recognize fire departments that were doing innovative things in their department. And so we sent out a just kind of a form. Hey, fill this out if you've done something innovative in your department. And we were really blown away by the submissions we got and what departments are doing. And we really took that as we can learn from each other. And, you know, there's a lot of departments doing things out there you never thought about, and you didn't realize how easy it is to do it and how to make that first step. So that's one of the reasons why I would start today with y'all, because you're doing some amazing, innovative things, and other departments could really take advantage of that. In fact, I was just talking to my training department today. So I know this department that's checking hydration levels of their new recruits in recruit school. And they're like, what? How do we do that? Because we're in Texas. And, you know, just like Oklahoma, August, we're doing rookie school in August. It gets pretty warm out there. And there's days that we can't train outside. So because we've got to check those health and, you know, the health of our firefighters. So I think that there's a lot we can all learn from each other. And that's kind of, we hope that that's where this goes in the future, is that we just continually learn from each other and continually make each other get better.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think that one of the things that learners, you know, as we try to look at succession planning in our department and the folks that want to take on specialty roles, um, you know, I always look at my planning officer, who's kind of our data centric software guru and mapper and everything else, and has the relationships with all the other kind of city departments that do that. And we found that that's a very hard position to fill, because we bring firefighters in and they don't have a lot of experience in certain software systems, or they're using a GIS product, and watching them catch up and then produce incredible products is really good. And so I always feel like that we ramp up and then we get a little bit behind, and we ramp up and we get a little bit behind us. And I don't know if that's collective in everyone's department, but it's one of those things that, you know, if we start that, you know, prime example of hydration early, measuring that using some kind of technology and testing. If we started that at the recruit academy level, then, you know, it just continues throughout. And I think that our recruits are coming to us expecting that level of technology. Especially they're looking at innovative programs, whether it's are we using drones or drone as first responder? Are we, you know, is our apparatus fleet the most technologically advanced, or do we have technology in there? There's having technology and there's having working technology, but point is that it's I think it's kind of part of our recruiting journey as well.
Yeah, I agree with you, and it's interesting you talk about that because this year, well, the iPhone came out in 2007. So this year, those kids that were born with an iPhone in their hand are 18 years old. They're entering the fire service. They're coming into this workforce, and they want technology. And we're arguably one of the slowest adopters of technology from, you know, in the public safety arena for sure. You know, and so how do we keep these firefighters that from becoming disenchanted when they come to us and they realize how slow we are to adopt, and we're still using legacy systems and still using desktops,
Yeah.
you know? And so how do we, you know, keep them from getting disenchanted, but also, you know, how do we indoctrinate the technology in the new hires so it continues throughout their career? And I don't know of anybody that's talking about technology in the rookie schools, you know, and
Right.
just touching on the importance of technology and data analytics and nearest and things that are coming in the future.
Yeah.
Well, I think you bring up a great point. You know, in the fire service, we look at dependability, and I think as we've grown and matured in our organization, we felt that it wasn't as reliable as we wanted. And I think we haven't really leaned in and tested those areas and pushed through. We just try it one time. If it fails or it doesn't work, we tend to push it aside. And I think we have to really challenge ourselves to say, hey, these things work. How do we improve what we're doing? How do we continually push through that and really take the time to test it? We're one of those instantaneous, we want it to work or don't work. There's no gray area in that. And I think as we really grow in the fire service and learn, we have to challenge ourselves. If we talk about being innovative and pushing through those, is how do we continually test it? How do we try it and really push through that, you know? And that's the challenge we have, where we just want that it has to work. And if it doesn't work, it's not reliable. It's funny, we have this, I use this conversation with my staff a lot and around. I had about 3 years on the job. So early, I started in 1990. So about 1993, we had MDTs on the rigs. And there was someone that was talking about, hey, just think one day we'll be able to use this device to tell us where we're going and how to get there, and it'll map the way. And I looked at them and like, you're crazy. We'll never see that in the fire service. So I think that part of, we have to really foster that attitude in the fire service. We have to welcome the opportunity to learn. And, you know, it's the change of mindset in the fire service. When I first started, I used a term, they said, hey, we hired you from the neck down. You're not here to think, we hired you to do. And I think we've changed our mindset of, no, we've hired you to think. We've hired you to be a voice. And that's how we allow innovation to come into the fire service and grow, by everyone having a voice and being able to work through those challenges.
Chief, that's a good, you brought up a really good point there about us being kind of naysayers at first about technology and then late adopters. Is, you know, that's one of the aspects why the Tech Council was actually formed back in 2007, was that we realized that the technologies out there didn't fit the needs of the fire service. We were taking either law enforcement technology or business technology and trying to make it fit into our mold, and it didn't work. We're just now starting to see in the last 3 to 5 years that technology companies are actually listening to us before they build something, and then building it to our requirements and our standards, and to meet the needs that we have that are very diverse and different than other aspects of technology.
Did they have MDTs on the rigs when you got hired?
Me?
Yeah.
No, we had carbon paper. 1978, we had carbon paper.
Them wealthy departments, I tell you what.
It's some carbon paper too.
Yeah.
You just said wealthy department. So new to my role as deputy, and I handle the budget. How do you both approach that from a fire chief standpoint, right? So we have a limited amount of money, and of course we want to keep technology moving forward. And I heard a wise person say that if you try to stay on the cutting edge of technology, you'll bleed yourself dry. So maybe just share with the listeners and viewers your process of, I guess, finding that right technology and making sure that it's financially the responsible thing to do. Maybe Chief Baker can lead this one, and then Chief Kelley follow.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think one of the things that I've kind of learned from the school of hard knocks and is trying to ram something down everybody's throat really quickly and assume that they're, this is the newest thing, and assuming that you're going to get buy-in without proven technology, and so, or proving that work. And so for me, with the learning curve, I found that I find the problem first and I make the case for the problem. And sometimes that's slow. It's not always with the firefighters and the line folks on the department. It might be a city hall. It might be with finance staff or leadership in the finance department that goes, hey, we need this, or HR. And so then what we kind of do is look for solutions to that problem. And the challenge that I've seen as well is to the point about software developers bringing in new products, is that sometimes it takes, you buy pieces to solve the problem, but then all of a sudden someone comes out with the entirety that will solve all the problems. And you have to be very careful and kind of watch the market and look at the product's evolution as they move on and what is out there. And so for me, I think it's been proving the use case. It may be year after year, and I don't expect to get it the first time I throw it in the budget, to be honest with you. It's going to take time. We have a great piece of software that we're trying to implement now. And we're in the basically second fiscal year is almost ending of trying to get that to work. And it's not to get it to work, it's just being ready to roll out. And so you have to be patient. And you also have to be ready for disappointment because I put several pieces in our budget this year that clearly didn't make it. Now, hardware wise, if I'm buying hardware out of capital, if I'm buying components for our drones first responder program, guess what? Those are approved. Those are fine because that's different money, right? And so, but sometimes software, it becomes a little more of a lift. And then last but not least, when it goes through the process of approval, it generally gets held up in legal, IT, or the data office. And so you have to work with your vendors and make sure that they're patient with you as well. And I let them know up front, hey, we are a slow city or a slow organization. You're going to have to work with us for a while. They always say, yeah, we know, we're used to it. And then years down, they're like, golly, this is taking a long time. There's a lot of pieces that, but I think getting in early, setting the stand, talking about it, communicating often and frequently about it, getting some demos out there, letting people play in the sandbox if the vendor will allow you, and then working through that to solve that problem, and then execution and rollout.
I love that. I love the fact that and this is a great lesson for anybody in the tech space, whether you're a vendor or a chief officer. And I wrote it down is not, don't give up, right? Perseverance. So if you don't get it the
Right.
first time, it doesn't mean the project stops. You keep the
Correct.
wheels rolling. What about you, Chief Kelley?
Well, great perspective there. And, it's interesting I think in the fire service, sometimes we're a hammer. We think everything's a nail. So we're a hammer. And sometimes as leadership, we become a sledgehammer. It's like, I'm going to force this in, make it work. But a lot of the challenges that I've seen that we've ran into or faced has been from the fact of what the solution we're looking for is to do what we need to do as leaders. And sometimes we forget the easiest buy-in is to make a change at the level that affects those out there on the street every day. Chief Baker talked about buy-in. I think sometimes it's baby steps. How do you get buy-in with the troops? Because once you can get some buy-in with the troops, that allows that opportunity for you to lean in and get those things that help you, to manage and lead and do. We look at data, and it's so important for what we do nowadays, but you have to get that buy-in from that ground level of why data is important, because you tell them, hey, it's important for this and that, but they really have to see that and visualize that. Unfortunately, some of the lessons we've learned is there's a lot of great applications out there, a lot of tools, and they're building these as a general rule to meet the needs of every fire department. It's not the same. And so some of the challenge we found was, do we step in and lean in these spaces and utilize what we already have, which we spent a lot of money actually capitalizing on what we know is going to be here. And that's Microsoft products, and leaning in that and taking and using Power BI to build apps and to build things, because then we can customize it to our operations, and our people are more apt to buy in because it fits what we do, instead of us going, hey, we need you to change how we do everything so this app will work or this product will work. So I think as you go through that, not only what Chief Baker brought up was great points of continually pushing forward and don't give up, but it's also making sure that you get that buy-in. The change management process is so important. And sometimes the change management process in the fire department is the chief says we're going to do it, so everybody change and make it happen. That doesn't work. It'll work sometimes, but really over time, it's so important that you look at that change management process. How do you get buy-in? How do we get people utilizing these platforms or whatever we're trying to do, what data? Because it's got to make their job easier, better, more information, whatever. They have to see the value in it.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard a great
Chief-
quote the other day that I was reminded of when you two were talking. It said, too many opportunities are masked as challenges that cannot be solved. and I think that like you two have created a kind of a culture in your department that, hey, we're going to find a solution to this. Can't is not going to be in our vocabulary. We're going to find a solution, and we know that we're going to have we're going to make some mistakes, and that's okay. We're going to get up, dust ourselves off, and find the right way to go about doing it. So, and it's change management. I think in the fire service, of course, everybody's resistant to change. That's just human nature. And I think we've created a culture in the fire service that's greatly resistant to change because we've screwed change up so much in the fire service. Like I said, we've had too many fire chiefs that just said, "This is how we're going to do it. Don't ask questions. Go with it." And we haven't used some sort of change management process.
It's funny you
Chief,
say that. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, go ahead, Chief Kelley.
My pastor is a big leader in the fire service, Craig Rochelle, and he talks about this very subject. He said, really, if you think about it, people want to change, but they want to change on their terms. And that's the problem. We want them to change on our terms. So I think that goes back into understanding, if people want to change their hair and want to change how they wear, they're okay with that because they've made that decision. So I think, just like you said in that, Scott, of really informing them, trying to give them the reason why and get them to buy into that, then you don't have to worry about this. Is this working or isn't it working? Sorry about that. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, you guys are right on. And can you talk just a little bit about how policies and procedures and governance fit into your position when you're trying to implement a new technology?
Chief
I'll
Baker,
just-
I'll go first on this one if you want me to.
Yeah, please
Yeah,
do.
just
I
if
was
you-
like,
well,
let me think.
change. Well, in our organization, and there's been, I think, as all cities have learned, different organizations work in different ways. The IT structure for a while was a little loose, people trying things, and ours has really taken a hard line. Any new product that we have to take it through the security team first. So they have to look at everything. So that is a big part of not putting the cart before the horse, because there's so many things out there nowadays that they have to make sure it meets the IT structure, the security structure, it fits into your program. So I think that's a huge part of that policy process of governance, of understanding your organization and what works. And then just that change management, stepping over from your policy. Do you have a policy on change management? What does that look like? And I'll tell you, I'm one of those that I embrace change and I like to make changes, but I don't want to change just because we need to make a change. So the reality of I have to really walk myself through those processes sometimes of, are we training our personnel? Are we making them understand the reason why? Going through that process and policy of how we do it. And then, I'm fortunate here when we talk about other policies as far as expenditures, we have a pretty robust budget on the IT side because of our public safety sales tax that allows us, part of that is new and innovative products that allows us to spend some money in that area. So just understanding that side of the process, and then also talking to people in the policies of that networking, of reaching out and saying, does this really work this way? Because if you're listening to a vendor, they're going to tell you it solves every one of your problems. And what they don't tell is all of the backstory of getting there and all the challenges with that. So I think that should be part of your policy of making sure you truly reach out and talk to people that are using this product as you go through it.
I think on our end, the policy really has shifted since 2021 when we had a data ransomware attack in the city, and we lost every piece of technology. And so, there's one piece that's really come out of it, and it's the data security portion of that. And I was talking to our previous chief data officer, and she was relating that data, in her eyes, is the new oil, and it can be a commodity. It can be a very useful tool. It can be refined and used for different purposes. But they're very protective of where the data and who has the data. So in relationships with vendors, what happens if the vendor has a data breach? Who's responsible? How are we going to react and what is where, and what information is sensitive that's on our servers, et cetera. And so we have kind of, it's not brought the process to a halt, but it has definitely slowed the process. But I think that we have to, as the fire service, have to recognize that this new portion of our data, whether it's response data, healthcare data, all of that has some kind of value to someone, whether it's nefarious or legitimate value. And so I think we've done a very good job of setting up the structure. Policy is being, written and revised. And so I think once we get past that and we start getting, we can move into those pieces for adoption. But really, it comes down to where we're at with data security. And that's the structure and the policy that my governance is really worried about.
Yeah, I have to remind myself too, every time we have to do the cybersecurity training or,
Yeah,
our IT department, turns down a proposal for a new solution or whatever, I have to remind myself that their number one job is protecting the city's data and the
yeah,
city, computer systems and servers. And 24/7, somebody's trying to hack into our city
correct.
in every city around here. So just for that reason, and it's interesting talk about the data is the new oil. I heard I can't remember the figure somebody put on it, but some economists put a figure on how much all the data is worth right now. It's in the trillions of dollars. It's what all the data is worth right now.
Yeah, that's been a topic here at the conference. They were talking about in the Northern Virginia area, these massive data centers and what they're doing to the local community, positive wise, and the influx of tax dollars. And that now is starting to bleed down into some other counties. And they're viewing it, just as you said, like it's another oil drill. It's a new oil drill that's going to,
Hmm.
provide an influx of tax dollars. Just again, it's exciting to see how technology is kind of reshaping how we live our lives, especially in the fire service.
Right. Yeah.
Well, let's kind of shift into kind of what technology are you using your departments right now and kind of innovative things that you're doing. What are you excited about? What are the troops excited about? What have they been surprised about? Kind of stuff.
Well, if Richard's doing it, we're doing it, right? So, or we've done it, or we tried to do it, and Richard executed on it. That's really what's been happening lately. Is so we tried to do some stuff, and Oklahoma City wasn't really able to get it going. But I think for us, there's really four main areas that we've been focusing on. I can't tell you that anybody's excited about it, but it will, it does have beneficial components. And a little bit of it is to really deal with interaction with the community side. A lot of community risk reduction based on data. And so first off, primarily is we've got some station location things we have to do. We've really built a great relationship with our municipal government's GIS section using mapping. We've expanded the technologies that we already had with some better GIS tools. We've also got some station locations that we really need to monitor closely. So we have not only creating some maps, but we're also being able to issue shape files and monitor responses in those areas through some other software that we have. And so that has been to answer questions for not only ourselves and our protracted station construction process, but it's also, city councilors have a need, mayor has a need for that. Speaking of our mayor, we have a new mayor that came in the last second part of last year. Really driven to have zero homelessness, functional zero by 2030. Super strong goal. And a lot of that is relationships, collaboration, and data. And so we were smart kind of early on. We bought a really good community sharing data platform. And so we harness and hold a lot of the data now. So we've become, what's interesting is our role, it was an operational piece for us, but now we are the host agency. So people are putting into our software package that we own. So it's an interesting transition of how that worked. But a lot of that homelessness data, and we get reports constantly and requests for data constantly. And so we are building out the need for a repository, and we think we're going to have a really good, leg up on that. Really, two other things: just mobile technology in general improving. For the first time, I know Chief Kelley's had phones in his fire apparatus forever. We've not had phones in our apparatus forever. So, really rolling out some new phone technology with a new station alerting system. So, a lot of that has been, and this is all things that have gone on since at least 2020. So, we're 5 years into some of these projects. And then last but not least is drones first responder. And that's, the city came out and we were awarded a $70 million Tech Hub grant. And so we are working diligently as a community to achieve their goal to design, engineer, and build, all things technology and become the drone capital of the world here. So that has been an interesting influx in attention to us. What we're doing with academics and what we're doing with private industry and especially technology on airspace deconfliction, things like that, or partnering with Oklahoma State University. There's a tribal area as well. We work a lot with the tribes. There's a drone corridor in the Osage Nation just outside of town that's free area for testing. So I really see that it's going to benefit really Chief Kelley's DFR program. That's really probably farther ahead than ours. But those interactions have been really good. And I think that's what gets the firefighters the most excited about getting licensure. Talk about a recruit academy change. I think what we're going to see as a workforce development, we're going to see the need for pilots coming out of academy. And so, I mean, whether it's working a DFR assignment or having a first responder with a drone, there's a lot of opportunity there.
Yeah, so I'm excited about the possibilities for DFR. And for anybody watching this doesn't really know what that is, that drone is a first responder. We're now able to launch drones at the first 911 phone call without having to have a spotter, and we can go beyond line of sight. So we can launch drones to the side of the call and start getting video feed, and pretty much immediately or within minutes. And so I'm excited about the possibilities of that. Where do you see some of the possibilities of either one of y'all, Chief Kelley, Chief Baker, on that for the fire service? The police service is obvious, it's robbery in progress. They, get there and they get the perpetrator right away and get video feed them. But for the fire service, where do you see the possibilities at?
I think when you think about the possibility, they're almost endless. It's left to your own imagination to think what you could do. The beauty of, we talked about our DFR program. I do want to give props to Chief Baker, though. When he talked about some of the programs, I'll tell people I do a lot of R&D, and that's rip off and duplicate. So I'm not afraid, and I'll give I'll give people credit. I'm not here to take credit. I'm here to improve our organization, and that's what these programs are about. I love Chief Baker because he is a risk taker. He's not afraid to jump out there and he tries things, and I'll pick his brain. And so I really think that is so important for us to talk through that and be willing to lean in those spaces. To me, my job as a visionary to move that forward. And you talked about DFR. So we're excited. We have our program, DFR program. We have our first 3 platforms up in the city. We got 8 more being delivered. And our goal is we're going to do 10 of those platforms for the next 5 years. So we'll have 50 throughout the city, and we may expand that. And we're already budgeted for it. The contract's approved. So this is online and moving. I think when you look at that, it's endless because we're working through our CAD right now to look at what is the automatic dispatch for those. Because you got to, and I love working law enforcement. It'd be easy to say, we're just going to dispatch these on everything. Well, that's really not where we need to be. We need to look at those incidents, and that's to give us real-time information to get feedback to those responders. So when we show up on scene, we're not caught off guard. We can see what's happening. And I think as we continually expand this, we can move into delivery of, we're fortunate in Oklahoma City and Tulsa, we carry whole blood. I'm not saying we'll be doing that, but that might be a case where we're carrying whole blood to meet an ambulance en route, and we're dropping that off and they take off. So there's so many things it's left to we're in the Jetson society. Yeah. We need to think about that opportunity. Now, I know many of you all don't know what Jetsons are, so go back and watch it. But I think when we talk about that, we have that opportunity for informational feedback, to delivery services, to do a lot of things out there. And really, when we talk about the amount of dollars that we have to expend on that, the return is so incredible that it's worth it. Chief Baker talked about, we need to be looking at these public-private partnerships to see how we can partner with people to expand these services. We look at what they have at the gathering space and other places, a large park that they have in Tulsa. We have a Scissortail Park here. We'll look at those to be able to do oversight to make sure, just to scene safety, for security and that. So I think the reality, the DFR program can grow and expand. And you don't even think that, expand onto the Arctic. We utilize the real-time information crime center that police have. That information that they have through cameras connected throughout the city, we're getting informational feedback now from DFR programs, from Arctic, and all of these areas that we're showing up so much more informed of what's happening there before we get there, that makes our firefighters safer. We provide a higher level service to our residents. We take care of our law enforcement officers so they can secure the scene for us, or take care of the bad guys if they're if they're there. So I think we just have to really wrap our mind around that, the opportunity there, and how do we continue to work together to expand those spaces.
Kind of do a shameless self plug talking about DFR. I've got an article coming out with a colleague, Jason Moore. He's a retired fire chief from Bloomington, Indiana. But we kind of talked about building a fire station for the future. If you're designing one today that's supposed to last 50 years from now, some implements you should think about. And actually, DFR is one of the topics we talked about. It is, putting a platform on your roof and then also building access to get to that platform, like stairs and door to the roof, so you can launch it. But you can also change out batteries if you're delivering AEDs, blood, or whatever, so you have access to that. But that's one of the things we talked about. If you're designing a fire station now, you should consider the future of DFR.
We have a station that's open in late this summer, and it has a platform built into that. It's already built into the program, so it'll be there and ready to go.
So when you read that article, you'll be like, yeah, done it, been there.
Well,
check the box and move on.
Well, I say this is all for me gleaning information from people a lot smarter than I am. I'll just, like I said, R&D. That's what I'm doing.
At TSI, Chief, I was having a discussion with some folks about drone first responder programs, and a chief brought up an idea that I hadn't really thought about, but he was spot on. He said the number one reason they're doing it is for their unit utilization, because if you're sending 5 trucks to a box alarm of unknown nature, the drone gets there and says, hey, there's no smoke showing, there's nothing to it, cutting up half that response back, putting them back in service to answer more critical or life safety responses right then. So there's a lot of advantages that we haven't even thought about yet, and how we're going to save lives away from the scene that drone's at.
Right. 100%. Yeah.
Speaking of fire stations, somebody actually posed a question on YouTube. And the question is, what are you guys' thoughts on LED alert technology on fire station doors? Now, I'll be honest, I just Googled it. So there's my that's my thoughts on it. and sadly, I think I actually have it at my new department. So I got to go back and do some research. But either one of you chiefs want to talk about the LED alert technology on fire station door? I see Chief Baker nodding. So you want to lead us off on that one?
Sure. As someone who's working through a station alerting project, I would love to have the funds available to do that. Now we're dealing with Oklahoma prices here, so the cost is really prohibited. If you look at a 4-bay or 8-bay station, basically, or 8-door station, should I say, and you've got 30, 31 stations across the city, it gets pretty pricey pretty quick. However, does it offset the cost of the door or the apparatus damage? And so our overhead door folks are some of the most wealthy in our community. We do a very good job of helping them out, and so we have redesigned some doors to make them a little more economical to replace panels and things like that. But I think it's one of those essential components for new design and new stations, especially ensuring that if you're looking at an alerting system, making sure it has that capacity. But also, if you're designing a station, make sure it's in there. So
Chief Baker, you good, Chief.
I was gonna say, yeah, we've our overhead door company owner, we've sent his kids to college.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is why they have LED garage door alerting, so.
We have 3 or 4 that have that. It is a challenge of the cost, and that is an area, that is where you got to weigh that out. But it is something, I think, if you can afford it, and I think if you build that into your station design, it's a lot easier. The challenge we have is the add-on going back. Right now a garage door is $25,000 to $35,000 a door. And if you do biparting, the quick roll ups, what you're doing there. So yes, sir. It definitely pays in the long run.
Yeah, what you both said, I think, is a huge leadership lesson, right? Either for aspiring chiefs or new chief officers. So you both like it, you both agree with the technology, but sometimes we're just limited on our funding. So especially for those aspiring chief officers or firefighters that are watching, understand that the fire chief could agree with you. They want the same exact thing you do.
Yeah.
They love the technology, love everything about it. However, at the end of the day, there's this much money on the table, right? And you have the responsibility of going, do I buy this or that? Because I only have this amount of funds. So that great leadership lesson on, hey, we love the technology, love to see more of it, but we have to prioritize the limited amount of funds we have. So thank
Yeah.
you.
Chief Kelley, can you kind of touch on the technology you're using and specifically the hydration monitoring of your new recruits?
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up because really, when we look at technology, the first thing our chief thinking, how much is this going to cost me? This is, crazy. So we were looking through, just like you talked about, Scott, in Oklahoma, it's humid, it gets hot here. And we see every recruit academy, we have challenges of our firefighters falling out. And, we tell them to stay hydrated. We do weights and measurements and everything you try to do. And really ran into some challenges. So we started looking at systems of how we can, really lean into that space. We hired an athletic trainer that actually works for our fire department. He helped us in that area of really leaning into that. So we took a two-pronged approach. The first thing we did is we actually went out and we did sweat testing that's done by a lot of professional teams that actually gets a sweat profile of every recruit that comes in. And that sweat profile, they say, no matter how your body changes, how you morph, how you gain weight, or how things change in the fire service, it doesn't change. Your profile is the same. So it tells you, are you high sodium? What do you lose during that? So you give a menued profile to that. And then layering that in, we actually went out, it's called H drop, and you can look it up. H drop, it's HDROP, and it's basically a wearable device or a thumb device that actually can test the hydration level of a firefighter. And I'll tell you, I know it works. I have my boss is a triathlete. We showed it to him. He actually bought one and he uses it when he does his triathlons. We actually had two of our firefighters just go through a smoke diver program. They actually used it during that, and they were able to be successful in the program by staying. They said it was made a huge difference of keeping their profile up and make sure the hydration levels. But we used it in our last recruit class. And every day when they come in the morning, they use it's got a thumb. You put a thumbprint, your finger on it. It's about 30 seconds, 35 seconds. And it gives you a 0 to 100 profile and tells you your hydration level. It doesn't give you the detail it does if you're wearing it, but it gives you that profile. So every day they know where they're starting off hydration levels. And then you can test it halfway through the day and see where they're at. But they're only about $250 a piece. The actual person that engineered and built it's out of Arkansas. We brought them over and learned from them. But it's just a simple way to take technology that's out there for the athletes, and we're industrial athletes, to be able to utilize that in a simple way to protect our firefighters, to make sure that we don't have those challenges. And we're rolling it out right now. We're building it to we're going to roll it out the fire stations and start utilizing the field. Now I want to make sure we do a measured approach, because we talked about implementing technology in the field and making them buy into it. We're going to start at our headquarters and work our way out and really move that into the field.
So are you saying it's more accurate than that color chart by the urinal when I go there?
It is. And we have the color charts too. You know how it is. I mean, I think that's a great approach, but again, this is a definite, we actually were testing it when we were at TSI, and we had several people come up and test it. It's a really simple tool that gives so much feedback for what we do in the fire service, especially recruit academies, being in gear all day and really working to a high level.
You have a large.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Will.
Yeah, I was going to say, I hope the listeners heard that nugget, right? Chief Kelley said, my boss is even using it, right?
Yeah.
So when you talk about buy-in, it's up and down. Buy-in to get the firefighters involved, but buy-in to get your bosses to the understanding level that, hey, this is something, because again, limited funds,
Right.
This is what needs to get funded. So
Yeah.
great lesson.
Yeah, that's what was going to be my next question. So, like you rolled it out for your rookie classes, your new hires. How many do you usually have go through that, and what would you say the cost was for if a department was looking to do this for their new recruit classes?
We had 69 in our recruit class starting. Not that many graduated, but we had 10 of them that we
It's not just us.
We were able to utilize 10. And that was a big, like I said, we had no heat related injuries throughout the entire academy. And so that was huge for us. And so that was a big deal. But yes, sir, we bought 10 of them at about 250. We spent about $2,500 really for that. And I guarantee you, if we'd have sent one to the hospital, we'd have spent more than the $2,500 that we put on the devices.
Looks like we have another question, Scott.
What's that?
You see the question that came in from YouTube? Should I ask that one?
Go for
it. From YouTube, it's what's the biggest challenge when your department adopts new technology? Chief Baker, what do you think? What's the biggest challenge? We talked about funding. We talked about buy-in. What's another challenge?
I think it's sustainability. And I don't want to go too far back in history, but there was a time, and I recall probably when email was taking off, and everybody wanted an email account. So it kind of gradually kind of phased in, and so then eventually the department found the budget, provided everybody in the department with an email account. Now no one wants to check email, right? Because of the risks of clicking on a phishing test or whatever, or even being a victim of a scam or a ransomware attack. And so it's sustainability. But the other part of that sustainability is the technology that a person is buying on the consumer electronics market is more advanced than what they have in their fire apparatus at their workplace. And so that is one of those things you can't keep up with. And so when the iPad comes out, everybody wants iPads on fire apparatus, right? And so, but there are limitations, network limitations, data transfer, between cardiac monitors or whatever else thing you have. But we can't keep up with the consumer side, and it's how do we work all those together, and that's the part. We talked about long adoption periods, buy-in, and all that kind of thing. We're on version 1.0, and folks are carrying 6.0 in their pocket, and so it is a challenge. Yeah, that's one of the biggest ones for us.
Yeah, that's a great one because again, going back to that cutting edge of technology, Chief Kelley, would you agree? Sustainability?
I think that it is it. I mean, when you really look at, because you can roll it out, and we've done a lot of things that we thought were great ideas, and you always gauge by feedback. So we know, especially firefighters, if you're hearing nothing, you have to be a little concerned, because that either means two things: they're not using it, or it doesn't work. And so that was a real challenge. That's a challenge we see of maintaining it, sustainability, that we can continue that we're, that process of, and that really comes to the other word is buy-in. If they have to buy in to sustain it, and then we have to look at from the leadership side of and what is the sustainability profile? How are we going to pay for it next year? How are we going to continue this and help it grow and evolve? Because most of the time, the first iteration that we roll out is nowhere near the final product. And then, how do you do that, change process where we review it, update it, and continue moving that forward. So I agree.
I love it. And go ahead, Scott.
I was saying, we touched on earlier in the show, we touched on kind of the reliability. And I think that's the number one killer for technology for firefighters. If it's not reliable, they'll try 2 or 3 times. And if it doesn't work, they're going to find a workaround. Several years ago, I was at a conference sitting with some fire chiefs at the table, and they were all kind of patting themselves on the back about how they fixed the problems in their department. And I was like, well, wait a minute. How do you know you fixed it? Did you just quit hearing from the firefighters? Because if you did, they found a workaround. You probably didn't fix it, and they thought they fixed the problem because the firefighters quit complaining about it. It's like, no, they 3 times and they're done. They're going to find a workaround.
That's right. That's right. I love it. And Kevin said when we first started, before we went live, that we could have fun. And when I think of sustainability, one thing I think of sustainability is this delicious Fiji water that I love to drink. So shameless plug, if anybody's watching Fiji water, that would love to supply us with it. Shameless little plug. But next question from YouTube. Wow. Next question from YouTube is from our friend Brent Faulkner. He says, what are the difficulties getting tech into the budget? And then how do you overcome them? So Chief Kelley, what do you think? Being a capital city fire department, I think you and I spoke in Oklahoma City about the challenges of being a capital city with limited budget, right? Limited tax base. So you got to make do. So how do you do that? What are those difficulties getting that tech into the budget, and then how do you overcome them? Besides getting your boss to like it.
Right. That's the easiest way, is to get them to buy in. But I think as you look through that is really utilizing different points of view. And what I mean by that is a lot of times we take stuff, especially nowadays, we take stuff to our leadership teams or to our bosses as, hey, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. And they always look at that as providing information from other sources. So, Chief Baker was talking about doing a fire station location study. We focus on ours of bringing that third party in to give that, that objective view. So it's not based on what I'm looking at. So I think sometimes is providing different sources, different feedback. So your leadership team sees, hey, this is where it works here, or here's how it works. And that way you give a different view. We also have in our department, and we created this because of our challenges. We call it a CAB, a Change Advisory Board. And it's basically made up of our leadership team where we come in and we work through that to really, and I'll tell you, we did that because of hard lessons where we really were not working together and succinct in that, and we had some challenges. So now we bring it through that board that allows us to get all the information. So when I'm trying to sell that product, I have everybody on board in that. My business manager, my IT director, internal. We have our own IT or within our organization. So we use that board a lot of times. So I think you have to look at ways that give information, allow you to have a well-rounded feedback loop that allows you to have information when you're trying to sell that product or to get those things in the budget. And the other part of that is I'm very open with my, as we have department head meetings, of really talking about the opportunities for new technology and how we're leaning into that. And sometimes it's you're creating a trail, you're creating that breadcrumbs to lead, to that instead of just dumping it on them, of drop little things along the way of how you can improve things, how you can improve this technology, how you can provide a better service to our community. Because really, if I can say this provides a better service to our community, it's a lot easier to sell it to my leadership team. So thinking about that connection to service and how it's going to improve what you're doing. So I know it's kind of a shotgun blast, but I'm from Oklahoma and we do hunt here. And so we need to have buckshot at every angle.
No, I love it. I like the change advisory board. And I love the fact you said dropping breadcrumbs. I view it more like priming the pump. And I
Right.
saw Chief
Right.
Baker nodding. And my understanding is that you may get some other department heads on board and say, hey, maybe we forego this. The fire department really has a good need. What do you think about that, Chief Baker?
I think it's a great, like I said, I've got one piece of, it's a personnel-based software right now that we're trying to get our implementation. But when we went through the IT governance process for adoption, everybody else was like, wait a minute, we could use this over here or over here, and et cetera. And so, because you end up sharing the cost, and then you constantly, I mentioned, the mayor's goal for functional zero homelessness by 2030. If you don't look at what your priorities that are written down, that are strategic statements within your local government, and you don't say, well, you know what, this will meet this, you're gonna start off in the negative to begin with. And I think the other point to this, to get stuff in the budget, is you can throw it, shoot at it, trying to get it in there, and if it gets turned down, you don't get disappointed, but always have that folder or file or data set on your computer, because for me, I can count probably 2 to 3 times that the minute the budget's getting ready to be finalized, someone calls and says, hey, there's X thousands of dollars available. Do you still have that project you want to do? Absolutely. Here it is. Let's go. And you have to be ready for it. So that's how I've been successful getting things in the budget, is that collaboration and being ready when the phone rings with some dollars.
Home runs. Scott?
Yeah, no, we're coming up on the hour. I just want to see if any last comments about technology or any, kind of, as Kevin says, mic drop comments before we sign off. Chief Kelley?
I think as we talked here, thank you for allowing us to be here. Really appreciate the opportunity, the IFC, and the opportunity to be here, but really lean into the space of technology and listen to your people. You'd be surprised on how many people in your organization have great tech ideas. It doesn't mean you have to implement them, but be willing to have those conversations. Just like we talked about on here, of maybe why it doesn't work right now, doesn't mean no forever. but it means maybe no right now. But having that opportunity where people can come to you within your organization, I think for us as leaders, we're talking about having an open door. I think we look at that physically. I think the true open door is leaning into what's out there, talking to your troops, looking at outside opportunities for spaces, networking to identify ways how you can improve your organization and be open. And really, and I'll tell you, I listen to a lot of podcasts for nuggets. It may be that I take one nugget away and I say, and my troops know that, my staff knows that when I come here, they think when I bring an idea, they like, you've been listening to podcasts again. But I think it's so important. There's a lot of smart people out there. You don't have to be the smartest in the room to grow and help your organization improve.
Great advice. Great advice. Chief Baker.
I'll just quickly add, next week, our nation faces the largest concentration of technology for the fire service in Indianapolis at FDIC. And I think the number one thing for me is when they bring it back to you, really give it a valuable consideration and don't just kick it out the door. There's a lot of little things that come back. It may be a nozzle or a piece of electronic device or a concept. And so it's always good to kind of hear what folks bring back from there.
Yeah, shameless plug, Kevin. If they come back and say Scott Roseberry or Kevin Sofin said do this,
Yeah.
I'll
we'll
tell
be
them
there.
it's Scott's idea.
Yeah, we'll both be there next week for what, next gen fire rescue
Next Gen Tech Summit, and there's also going to
yeah.
be a smart firefighting party on that Thursday night. So if you are going to be the FDIC, definitely let me know. But for me, I was a student of the game here. I was taking notes and just loving it. And for everyone that's on live on YouTube, at one point we had 17 people. That was pretty great. Our first one. And it's just cool to, if you've got questions, ask it. That's the value of a live event. So this is really meant to allow you to ask selfish questions to allow us to guide the conversation. But I just want to echo what Scott, Will, and Jeff said. Just thank you, Chief Baker and Kelley, for your leadership, your just your humbleness, and just being all around great guys. It's fun to collaborate with. So I appreciate it, and we're excited to again keep this going the first and third Tuesdays of every month. And I guess I'll pass it to you, Jeff, Will, and Scott. Any other final comments?
Yeah, Jeff.
Just again, thanks, Chief, very much for being on here, both of y'all. And again, we look forward to seeing you guys at FRI, and maybe we'll do one of these live at FRI as well. So thanks again for being our first one.
Will, you final
Yeah,
comments?
same thing. Thank you. I'm like Kevin. I'm a student of the game. I took some notes. I think I was more of a listener than a talker because it's so many nuggets, as one of the chiefs says. So thank you both for passing on that knowledge.
Yeah, so thank you both. Thank you, Chief Kelley, Chief Baker. Great stuff. I know we all walked away with some nuggets from this. I want to thank IFC and Fire Rescue One for helping us host this. Like I said, next week we'll be at FDIC. So if you see any of us there, Jeff Doolin will be there, Kevin Soph and myself will all be there. If you see us, come up and say hi. Other than that, we'll be back in 2 weeks with Chief Josh Waldo, Bozeman, Montana Fire Chief, and the president of the International Association of Fire Chiefs. So. Thank you, guys.
Thank you,
Thank you
Chief
very
Kelley.
much.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Go Thunder.
Yeah.